From only one playable character to infinite magic, skill acquisition, and difficulty settings, there are a lot of things to discuss regarding Final Fantasy XVI's combat. We're about to get into all that right now, just after I remind you all to enter that giveaway for a chance to be one of 2 winners to receive a digital copy of Final Fantasy XVI for free. Just hit the link in the description or pinned in the comment to enter.
Focus, Wyvern. You are key to this mission's success.
Releasing next month on June 22nd, 2023, Final Fantasy XVI represents a pretty big move in a new direction. Not only are we getting a more linear game with large zones to explore, unlike the open world setting of the previous mainline entry, but we are also getting a completely new battle system that takes the series forward in uncharted territory. This video encompasses everything you need to know about the battle system of Final Fantasy XVI. This dark fantasy setting paves the way for the game's protagonist, Clive Rosefield, to engage in battles with the speed and tempo to that of a character action game like Devil May Cry. Unlike the previous entries in the Final Fantasy franchise, Final Fantasy XVI is opting for a completely real-time battle system, unlike most of the previous game's command-based systems. Now, without the command-based systems in place, how do we issue commands and control the behavior of your party members? Well, to put it simply, the player will only be controlling Clive Rosefield throughout the game's battles, with your side companions acting on their own free will. That's right, there is only one playable character in Final Fantasy XVI, and although this may be disappointing, at least players won't have to manage their companions in battle, thanks to the game putting the sole attention on you, the player, as you manage Clive. As the game will only task the player to manage Clive in battle, that doesn't mean you will be alone. Clive's good boy, Torgal, can be issued commands via the D-pad, including both healing and offensive commands. Clive will also be assisted by a rolling roster of supporting characters throughout the game, so those worried that this will be a solo mission don't need to worry much here. At the end of the day, this story is very much centered around Clive Rosefield and his evolution and growth as a character in the world of Valisthea, along with the many relationships he has with the impressive supporting cast of characters. The game's battles are fast and are completely in real time, with Square being the dedicated attack button, with Clive being able to string 4 ground combos in succession and up to 3 hits in the air. Final Fantasy XVI's combat system, as mentioned earlier, is more akin to that of a character action game, like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, with the lead combat designer, Ryota Suzuki, bringing his years of expertise of working on titles like Dragon's Dogma and Devil May Cry 5 to help Square realize the melee-heavy qualities that define Clive as a fighter. To better string his attacks together, Clive can use a variety of magic spells with the triangle button, with some of the more basic spells being simple pellets of magical projectiles. While these magic attacks can be used as frequently as one desires, thanks to no MP cost, these magic attacks don't deal enough damage to make players rely too much on them. Rather, they are excellent in sustaining Clive's combos and demonstrate the game's greater focus on melee combat. Speaking about that melee combat, if Clive were to attack an enemy as an enemy lunges at Clive, Clive will parry the enemy, slowing the enemy down for a second or two to help players line up their counterattack. If slowing down an enemy sounds a bit like something out of Bayonetta, then the game's perfect dodge system may also reinforce that thought, as dodging at the last moment before an enemy lands their attack will slow down the attacking enemy briefly in what is called a precision dodge. These precision dodges can be followed up with either a physical or magic-based attack. Dodges in Final Fantasy XVI are performed with the R1 button. A huge component to Final Fantasy XVI are the icons, which are essentially this game's terminology for the classic summons. As Clive continues through the game, he will come across various icons and learn certain traits and elements assigned to these icons and use them in battle while holding the R2 button and pressing either square or triangle to activate. These are called iconic abilities, and 2 can be selected to be used in battle per icon. 3 icons can be equipped and swapped between in battle on the fly with L2, and can be used in conjunction with Clive's melee and magic attacks, making Clive an incredibly formidable and well-rounded character in battle. In the recent demo showcasing the fights leading up to the fight with Benedicta of the Garuda icon, we see Clive operating Phoenix, an icon with fire abilities, Garuda of wind, and Titan of earth. This demo showcases the fluidity of such elemental moves with these iconic abilities, in conjunction with the standard and magical abilities of Clive's arsenal. Although only 2 iconic abilities can be selected and employed in battle, there are many iconic abilities per icon, allowing for incredible permutations that play on the game's sheer variety, resulting in a variety of abilities that can be used to accommodate nearly any playstyle. Just know that these iconic abilities do have a rather short cooldown tied to them, so constant spamming of these attacks will not work. These abilities can be acquired and leveled up by using ability points that are accrued from defeating monsters in battle. In the abilities panel of the menu, players can spend ability points to buy new abilities, or level up their existing ones, with the leveled up abilities resulting in not just more damage, but perhaps even more attacks out of that ability. Abilities may also be unlearned, with ability points being refunded directly back to the player. This system encourages players to experiment with skills that better suit their playstyle without creating unwanted stress on those who regret their current skill setup. Players can take these skills and any new moves to practice against enemies in a practice area called the Hall of Virtue to hone their skills before continuing their journey. Skills can also be bought and chosen for you if you have a difficult time trying to choose which skills to buy. With each skill comes 2 different attack values, being raw damage and the other being stagger damage. This stagger damage is the kind of damage that will chip away at an enemy's stagger gauge, reflected in the yellow bar beneath an enemy's health. If the enemy's stagger bar were to fully deplete, the enemy will enter a staggered state, rendering that enemy immobile and vulnerable to damage. Upon attacking a staggered enemy, damage values will continue to rise upon each successful hit to a maximum of 150% if you are quick enough. To make things easier to maximize your damage dealt during a staggered state, players can unleash the power of their gold bars located beneath the player's health bar to enter their limit break state, granting the player a heightened speed, attack power, and automatic regen. If you thought that was it in regards to the iconic abilities, well, there's more. With the circle button, players can utilize what are called Eikonic Feats, which are more situational-based actions that do different things according to the currently equipped icon. With Garuda equipped, the player will engage Deadly Embrace, which grapples enemies close to the player to close the distance, while if used on larger enemies, thrusts Clive into the air next to the enemy to make it easier to attack from above. Titan's iconic feat is called Titanic Block, in which the player can block incoming attacks, and can become a precision block with a perfectly timed block, allowing the player to counterattack with 3 heavy strikes. Phoenix Shift is Phoenix's iconic feat, teleporting players to an enemy, and a physical or magical attack can be strung to this ability after the teleport. These iconic feats are incredibly valuable and vary per icon selected, and what makes them all the more useful is that they do not have a cooldown associated with them. I look forward to seeing what the rest of the icons have in store for Clive, but I want to know from you all in the comments, which icon are you most looking forward to using? Let me know in the comments below. Now, Square have been very vocal about their new approach to difficulty in Final Fantasy XVI, and their approach is very different from most games out there, so let me simplify it all here for you. Basically, the game will feature an action mode and a story mode, with the action mode catering to those who are familiar with action games and RPGs, with story mode automatically equipping the player with some useful accessories that simplify the game's combat mechanics. These accessories come in the form of rings that can be equipped in any of the 3 accessory slots, meaning a player can only equip 3 of these rings at a given time. Here is a quick summary of each of the 5 rings. Ring of Timely Evasion. When equipped, Clive will automatically evade attacks, as long as the attack can be evaded. Ring of Timely Strikes. When equipped, complex ability combinations can be executed by simply pressing square. Ring of Timely Focus. When equipped, time slows down before an evadable attack hits Clive. No effect when equipped with the Ring of Timely Evasion. Press R1 to evade. Ring of Timely Assistance. When equipped, pet commands are executed automatically, and Torgal's actions will adapt to Clive's. The Ring of Timely Assistance effects are included in the Ring of Timely Strikes. The final ring is the Ring of Timely Healing. When equipped, Clive will automatically use a potion when his HP falls below a certain amount. Potions will be used before high potions. And those are all the rings made available. To be clear, no other parameters about the game will be changed, as playing on story mode will feature the same enemies and attack values as those playing on the action mode. Those playing on action mode will be able to acquire those rings naturally throughout the game, and can set them to their accessory slots at the whim of the player. And that's it regarding the game's core combat systems. Although we didn't talk about the icon-to-icon battles, those are large-scale, over-the-top encounters reserved for certain moments of the game that feature very different gameplay from the core battle system. With just over a month to go before release, perhaps even more details will surface containing more insight into the game's combat, so stay tuned to the channel for more updates. With all that out of the way, I want to know from you all, are you looking forward to the combat systems in Final Fantasy XVI? Do you think this is a good direction for the franchise? As a fan of Final Fantasy, as well as games like Devil May Cry, I couldn't be more excited for this direction the franchise is taking with its combat. We will know real soon if all these years in development have paid off when the game releases next month. Remember to participate in the game giveaway, and watch this video talking about how Final Fantasy XVI's decision not to be open world is the best decision made for the game. Thank you all for the awesome support, and I'll be back with another video real soon. See you then. Peace.